First convergence. The vast emptiness between stars had never seemed so profound to Captain Dominic Reeves as he stood on the command deck of the UES Horizon. The exploration vessel drifted at the outer edge of the Proxima Centauri system, its advanced sensors methodically mapping the surrounding space. It was the year 2287, and humanity's relentless push into the cosmos had brought them farther than their ancestors could have dreamed. "Captain, I'm detecting something unusual." The voice of Dr. Nora Yamazaki, the ship's chief science officer, broke through Reeves' contemplation. Her typically measured tone carried an unmistakable note of excitement. "Define unusual, Doctor," Reeves replied, already moving toward her station. Dr. Yamazaki's fingers danced across her holographic interface, pulling up a three-dimensional rendering of space approximately one light hour from their position. "There's a structure out there that wasn't visible until we recalibrated our quantum sensors. Well, you should see for yourself." The display showed what appeared to be a massive geometric construct floating in the void. It resembled an icosahedron, a 20-faced polyhedron, each surface emblazoned with intricate patterns that seemed to pulse with energy. "Natural formation?" Reeves asked, though he already knew the answer. "Definitely artificial," Yamazaki confirmed. "The energy signatures are like nothing in our database, but they're stable and organized. My team believes it's been waiting here for, possibly millennia." Reeves straightened, his mind racing. Protocol dictated they should relay this discovery to Earth Command immediately, but that would mean weeks of delay as bureaucrats debated the appropriate response. By then, privateers or corporate interests might reach the structure first. "Prepare a first contact team," he decided. "We're going to take a closer look." Lieutenant Commander Talia Novik, the ship's tactical officer, frowned. "With respect, Captain, approaching an unknown alien construct without backup isn't standard procedure." "Neither is discovering alien technology on our doorstep, Lieutenant," Reeves countered. "We're an exploration vessel. Let's explore." 4 hours later, the Horizon's auxiliary craft, the Peregrine, glided through space toward the mysterious structure. Captain Reeves led the expedition himself, accompanied by Dr. Yamazaki, Lieutenant Kaito Sato, their most skilled pilot, and Chief Engineer Viktor Petrov, whose expertise with advanced technology had saved the Horizon numerous times. "Energy readings are intensifying," Yamazaki reported as they approached. "The patterns on the surface are changing. I think it's responding to our presence." Petrov grunted in agreement, his eyes fixed on his own instruments. Incredible engineering. Whatever built this wasn't just advanced, they were artists. As the Peregrine drew within 5 kilometers of the structure, the patterns on its surface began to glow with an ethereal blue light. The effect was mesmerizing, like watching digital constellations form and dissolve. "We're being scanned," Sato announced, his hands steady on the controls despite the tension evident in his voice. Before anyone could respond, a beam of brilliant azure light shot out from the structure, engulfing the Peregrine. The ship's systems flickered momentarily but continued functioning. "It's a data transmission," Yamazaki said, surprised. "Massive amounts of information are being downloaded into our systems." "Can you decipher any of it?" Reeves asked, fighting the instinct to order an immediate retreat. Yamazaki shook her head. "It's too much, too fast. We'll need the Horizon's computational systems to—" She was interrupted as the structure began to transform before their eyes. The 20 faces of the icosahedron started to separate and rearrange, revealing a swirling vortex of energy at its core. "What the hell?" Petrov whispered, uncharacteristic awe in his gruff voice. The vortex expanded, and through it emerged a sight that would forever alter humanity's understanding of their place in the universe. Ships, hundreds of them, began flowing through the portal. Not the crude, utilitarian vessels humans had designed, but sleek, organic craft that resembled great birds of prey. Their hulls shimmered with the same blue energy that had scanned the Peregrine, and they moved with impossible grace, arranging themselves in a perfect three-dimensional formation. "The data," Yamazaki said, her fingers flying over her console. "It's a star chart and Instructions, these ships, they're called the Stellar Inheritance Fleet, and according to this, they're ours now. Ours? Reeves echoed, disbelief evident in his voice. Why would anyone gift humanity an armada of advanced starships? Before Yamazaki could answer, Sato called out, "Captain, we've got company." The sensors showed multiple vessels approaching rapidly from the system's outer reaches. Unlike the elegant ships of the Inheritance Fleet, these were angular and aggressive in design, bristling with what could only be weapons. "Incoming transmission," Yamazaki announced, routing it through the Peregrine's communication system. A harsh, modulated voice filled the cabin. "Attention, human vessel. You have activated progenitor technology that does not belong to your species. The Void-Torn Collective claims all progenitor artifacts by right of conquest. Surrender the activation key and withdraw, or face immediate destruction." Reeves exchanged glances with his team. The Peregrine was unarmed, and the Horizon possessed only minimal defensive capabilities. "What does the downloaded data say about these ships?" he asked Yamazaki quietly. The scientist was still parsing through the information. "They're designed to bond with pilots through neural interfaces. The ship becomes an extension of the pilot's consciousness." "How do we activate them?" Yamazaki looked up, her eyes wide with realization. "Captain, I believe we already have. The scan wasn't just sending data, it was reading our neural patterns. The fleet is waiting for us to take command." Reeves made his decision. "Sato, take us to the nearest ship. Yamazaki, figure out how we interface with these vessels. Petrov, establish a secure link to the Horizon. They need to know what's happening." As the Peregrine approached one of the avian ships, it seemed to respond, a port opening along its sleek hull. "The Void-Torn are charging weapons," Sato warned. "Then we better hurry," Reeves replied, jaw set with determination. Inside the alien vessel, they found a chamber unlike anything human engineers had conceived. There were no visible controls, only a single chair at the center of a spherical room whose walls displayed a perfect view of surrounding space. "This must be the neural interface," Yamazaki said, scanning the chair with her instruments. "According to the data, once someone sits there, they become one with the ship." Sato stepped forward. "I'll do it." "Lieutenant," Reeves began to protest. "With respect, Captain, I'm the pilot," Sato said firmly. "If anyone is going to test an alien neural interface, it should be me." After a moment's hesitation, Reeves nodded. Sato approached the chair and sat down. Immediately, the chamber hummed to life, and tendrils of blue energy wrapped around Sato's limbs, not restraining but connecting. The lieutenant gasped, his eyes widening. "I can feel it," he whispered. "The ship, it's alive, not sentient, but aware, and I can feel the other ships too. They're waiting." Through the ship's sensors, Sato saw the Void-Torn vessels closing in, weapons charged and ready to fire. "They're targeting the Horizon," he reported, alarm in his voice. "They're going to destroy it." Without conscious thought, Sato brought the ship's systems online. The vessel responded instantly, moving with a grace that defied its size. He reached out mentally, establishing a communication link with the Horizon. "This is Lieutenant Sato," he transmitted. "The structure has given us control of these ships. Captain, you need to get everyone aboard who can operate a neural interface." The Void-Torn fired the first shot, a beam of searing energy aimed directly at the Horizon. Without thinking, Sato interposed his vessel, activating defenses he hadn't known existed. A shield of blue energy absorbed the attack, leaving the ship unharmed. "Impressive for primitives," the Void-Torn commander transmitted. "But you cannot hope to master progenitor technology in time to save yourselves." Sato didn't respond with words. Instead, he unleashed the ship's weapons, not to destroy but to warn. Pulses of energy streaked past the Void-Torn vessels, missing them by mere meters but demonstrating precision that no human weapon could match. "This is Captain Reeves," Reeves finally replied through Sato's communication link. "The Inheritance Fleet has chosen humanity as its inheritors. Leave this system, or we will be forced to demonstrate why." The Void-Torn hesitated, clearly surprised by the humans' control over the ancient technology. But their retreat was only tactical. Sato could sense their determination. They would return, and in greater numbers. As shuttles from the horizon began approaching other ships in the fleet, Sato received another data packet from the structure, which was now beginning to close. It contained a star chart marking the locations of more progenitor caches throughout the galaxy, along with a message. The trial BEGINS, prove yourselves worthy. Back aboard the Horizon, Captain Reeves convened an emergency meeting with his senior staff. The neural pilots, 12 crew members who had successfully bonded with the inheritance vessels, joined remotely through their ship's communication systems. The structure was a progenitor nexus, Dr. Yamazaki explained, displaying the translated data. An ancient race that seeded technological caches throughout the galaxy, each designed to activate when the right species discovered them. And we're the right species, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Elias Okonkwo asked skeptically. Yamazaki nodded. According to this data, the progenitors created genetic markers to identify potential inheritor species. Humanity carries one such marker. So these ships were always meant for us, Petrov mused, stroking his beard thoughtfully. Not just us, Yamazaki corrected. The progenitors left similar caches for other species throughout the galaxy. It's like a cosmic inheritance divided among potential heirs. And the Void-Torn? Reeves asked. Where do they fit in? Yamazaki's expression darkened. They were once candidates themselves. They found their own progenitor cache thousands of years ago, but instead of using the technology as intended, they weaponized it. They've been hunting down other caches ever since, destroying or subjugating any species that might access them. Eliminating the competition, Lieutenant Commander Novik said grimly. Exactly, Yamazaki confirmed, and now they're coming for us. Sato, still connected to his ship, which he had named Kestrel, sensed something stirring within the vessel's systems. Knowledge the progenitors had embedded deep within the fleet's database. There's more, he said, his voice distant as he communed with the ship. The inheritance fleet isn't just for defense. These ships can create, terraform worlds, build structures, even synthesize new technologies. The progenitors were architects, not conquerors. Then why give us weapons at all? Novik asked. Protection, Reeves answered, understanding dawning. The power to create must be defended. Captain, Sato interrupted, his consciousness still partially merged with Kestrel. Long-range sensors are detecting multiple Void-Torn fleets converging on this system. They're calling for reinforcements. We have maybe 48 hours before they arrive in force. Reeves stood, his decision made. Our mission has changed. We need to understand these ships, train more pilots, and prepare for the Void-Torn's return. More importantly, we need to get word to Earth. Humanity just inherited the stars and the responsibility that comes with them. As the meeting disbanded, Sato remained connected to Kestrel, exploring the depths of the ship's knowledge. What he found both thrilled and terrified him. The progenitors hadn't just left humanity a fleet. They had left them a legacy, a chance to reshape the galaxy. But first, they would have to survive the Void-Torn's wrath. The trial had begun, Guardians Ascendant. 6 months had passed since the discovery of the Stellar Inheritance fleet, and everything had changed. What began as a routine exploration mission for the UES Horizon had transformed into humanity's most significant turning point since the first lunar landing. Earth's united governments had created a new division called Nexus Command, dedicated to understanding and utilizing the progenitor technology. The Horizon, once a solitary research vessel, now served as the flagship of humanity's first interstellar defense force. Commander Elena Vostok stood on the bridge of the Nova Forge, the largest of the inheritance vessels. At 42, she had been one of Earth's most decorated naval officers before volunteering for the Neural Pilot program. Her silver-streaked black hair was pulled back in a tight bun, revealing the neural interface implant at the base of her skull, a modification that strengthened her connection to the ship. "Status report," she requested, her mind simultaneously monitoring the ship's systems through their neural link. Lieutenant Julian Ortega, her second-in-command, approached with a data pad. The expedition team has reached the coordinates from the star chart. They're beginning their approach to the second progenitor nexus. Vostok nodded, her attention shifting to the tactical display. 12 inheritance vessels surrounded the Nova Forge in a defensive formation, while the remaining fleet, now numbering over 50 ships as more neural pilots had been trained, maintained a protective cordon around Earth and its colonies. "Any sign of void-torn activity?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. The neural link allowed her to access the Nova Forge's powerful sensors directly. "Nothing yet," Ortega replied. "But intel suggests they're massing for something big. The skirmishes over the past 6 months have just been probing attacks." Vostok frowned. The Void-Torn had launched multiple raids against human outposts since first contact, testing their defenses and response times. Each engagement had been decisively won by the neural pilots, but the enemy was adapting, learning the capabilities and limitations of the inheritance fleet. "Captain Reeves is requesting a direct neural conference," Ortega added. Vostok closed her eyes, allowing her consciousness to expand beyond the confines of her physical body. The neural network connected all pilots, creating a virtual space where they could communicate instantly across vast distances. In the mental construct, she appeared in a featureless white room alongside Captain Dominic Reeves and Lieutenant Kaito Sato, both projecting their consciousness from their respective vessels. "Elena," Reeves greeted her, his mental projection nodding respectfully. "We've reached the second nexus. It's different from the first." "Different how?" Vostok asked. Sato's projection gestured, creating a three-dimensional image of an enormous crystalline structure embedded in an asteroid. Unlike the geometric precision of the first nexus, this one appeared more organic, with sweeping crystal formations extending like branches. "It's not responding to our presence," Sato explained. "Dr. Yamazaki believes it might require a different activation protocol. Or it might be designed for a different inheritor species," Reeves added grimly. "We're not the only ones in the progenitor's will, remember." Before Vostok could respond, her connection to the neural network flickered as an alert from the Nova Forge demanded her attention. Her consciousness snapped back to her physical body, eyes flying open. "Commander," Ortega's urgent voice cut through her momentary disorientation. "Massive energy signatures detected entering the Sol system. It's the Void-Torn, at least 100 ships." Vostok didn't hesitate. "Sound General Quarters, alert Nexus Command and deploy the defense fleet in formation Aegis." Her mind reached out through the neural link, connecting with the other pilots defending Earth. "They're making their move." In the engineering bay of the UES Horizon, Chief Engineer Viktor Petrov worked frantically alongside his protege, Marcus Ockhaffer, a brilliant engineer recruited from the Nigerian Space Agency. For months, they had been studying the creation capabilities of the inheritance vessels, attempting to understand how the ships could manipulate matter and energy on a fundamental level. "The molecular reconfiguration matrix is aligned," Ockhaffer reported, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. "Quantum stabilizers at optimal parameters." Petrov nodded, his weathered face tense with concentration. "Initiate the sequence." Between them, a platform hummed to life as microscopic constructors, nanites programmed with progenitor technology, assembled raw materials into a complex device. Layer by layer, the object took shape, a sphere roughly the size of a human heart, covered in intricate circuitry that pulsed with the same blue energy that powered the inheritance fleet. "Is it working?" Dr. Nora Yamazaki asked as she entered the bay, her attention immediately drawn to the device. "See for yourself," Petrov replied, unable to keep the pride from his voice. He activated the sphere with a gesture. The device floated upward, emitting a soft hum as it projected a field of energy around itself. Within this field, the laws of physics seemed to bend. Gravity weakened, light refracted in impossible patterns, and time itself appeared to flow differently. "A localized space-time manipulator," Yamazaki breathed, awe evident in her voice. "You actually did it." Akafor smiled, though his eyes remained serious. The first human-created progenitor technology. With this, we could revolutionize propulsion, energy production, even planetary defense. Captain Reeves needs to see this, Yamazaki began, but was interrupted by the ship-wide alert. All hands to battle stations, Captain Reeves' voice announced. This is not a drill. Void-torn forces have entered the Sol system and are engaging our fleet near Jupiter. All neural pilots report to your vessels immediately. The three exchanged grim looks. Their theoretical breakthrough had suddenly become much more urgent. The Void-torn's timing is suspicious, Yamazaki noted, just as we're about to access a second nexus. It's not a coincidence, Petrov growled. They've been watching us. Akafor carefully secured the prototype in a containment field. I need to get back to Earth with this. If we can replicate it on a larger scale, we might be able to create a defense system that doesn't rely solely on the inheritance fleet. Go, Petrov nodded. Take the prototype and all our research. The Horizon will hold position at the Nexus. As alarms continued to sound throughout the ship, Yamazaki's tablet chimed with an incoming message. Her expression darkened as she read it. What is it? Petrov asked. A report from Nexus Command, she replied, her voice tight. A faction within the military leadership is pushing to weaponize the creation technology. They want to build planet killers. Petrov swore in Russian. Exactly what the progenitors warned against. Don't they understand? We're being tested. Lieutenant Kaito Sato felt the Kestrel respond to his concern, the ship's systems heightening to match his alertness. Through their neural connection, ship and pilot had grown so synchronized that the boundary between them had begun to blur. The Void-torn fleet has divided, he reported to Captain Reeves. The main force is engaging Commander Vostok near Jupiter, but a smaller contingent is breaking away, heading straight for us. Reeves, who had chosen to remain aboard the Horizon rather than bond with an inheritance vessel, nodded grimly. How many? 20 ships heavily armed. They know we've found another nexus. The captain turned to his tactical officer. Lieutenant Commander Novik, what's our status? Novik studied her display. We have 8 inheritance vessels with us plus the Horizon, against 20 Void-torn warships. She left the implications unspoken. We need to activate the Nexus, Reeves decided. Dr. Yamazaki, any progress? The scientist was focused intensely on the crystalline structure floating before them. The energy patterns are familiar, but the interface is different. It's almost as if... Her eyes widened with sudden realization. It's responding to emotional patterns, not just neural ones. The first nexus responded to our curiosity, our desire to explore. This one might require something else. Like what? Reeves pressed. I don't know, compassion, creativity, courage. The progenitors valued different traits in their inheritor species. Before they could explore this theory further, the ship shuddered under sudden impact. Void-torn Advance Force has opened fire, Novik announced. Our shields are holding, but they're focusing on the Nexus, not us. Through his connection with Kestrel, Sato saw the Void-torn ships shifting formation, concentrating their firepower on the crystalline structure. They're trying to destroy it before we can activate it, he realized. Captain, I'm taking Kestrel out to intercept. Without waiting for a response, Sato's consciousness merged deeper with his ship. The Kestrel shot forward, its defenses already deploying as it positioned itself between the attackers and the Nexus. The other 7 inheritance vessels followed his lead, forming a protective barrier. The Void-torn's assault intensified, their weapons more powerful than in previous encounters. They had clearly been upgrading their technology, reverse engineering aspects of the progenitor systems they had captured. They're breaking through, one of the other pilots called through the neural link. We can't hold them all. Sato felt something stir within the Kestrel systems, capabilities that had remained dormant until now. Everyone pull back to secondary positions, he ordered. I'm going to try something. As the other ships repositioned, Sato allowed his consciousness to sink completely into the Kestrel. The distinction between human and machine vanished entirely as he accessed protocols buried deep within the ship's architecture. The Kestrel transformed, its hull reconfiguring as energy cascaded across its surface. The ship split into multiple smaller craft, each still connected to Sato's consciousness, each capable of independent action while remaining part of the whole. "What the hell?" Reeves's voice came through dimly, as if from a great distance. Sato couldn't explain, even form words, as his divided consciousness directed each segment of the Kestrel in a coordinated defense. The smaller craft wove through the void-torn formation with impossible agility, their weapons targeting engines and weapon systems with surgical precision. Through the chaos, Dr. Yamazaki's voice reached him. "That's it. The second trait, adaptation. Sato, you're demonstrating the very quality the Nexus is looking for." The crystalline structure began to pulse with increasing intensity, responding to the display of adaptive intelligence. Beams of energy shot out from its core, connecting with each of the inheritance vessels. "It's transferring data," Yamazaki exclaimed, "and something else." Aboard the Nova Forge, Commander Alina Vostok was fighting her own desperate battle. The void-torn main fleet had deployed devastating weapons against Earth's defenses, systematically targeting the neural pilots with specialized disruption fields that interfered with their connections to their ships. "We're losing cohesion," her tactical officer reported. 3 pilots down, 5 more reporting neural instability. Vostok gritted her teeth, fighting through the pain as the disruption field clawed at her own neural link. The Void-Torn were adaptive, intelligent enemies. They had learned from each engagement, developing countermeasures specifically designed to neutralize humanity's advantages. Just as the situation seemed most dire, a surge of energy flowed through the neural network connecting all inheritance vessels. The disruption fields faltered, then failed completely as the ship systems reconfigured to a new protection protocol. "What just happened?" Vostok demanded. "Message from the horizon," her communications officer responded. "They've activated the second nexus. All ships are receiving upgraded defensive protocols." New information flooded into Vostok's mind through her neural link: tactical data, enhanced capabilities, and most importantly, insight into the Void-Torn's technology. The progenitors had faced this enemy before and had prepared countermeasures. "All pilots implement Protocol Aegis Prime," she ordered through the neural network. "Coordinate your attacks through the tactical mesh." The tide of battle shifted as the inheritance fleet began moving with unprecedented synchronization. Ships combined their defensive fields, creating overlapping barriers that the Void-Torn weapons couldn't penetrate. The Void-Torn commander opened a communication channel, his distorted visage appearing on the Nova Forge's main display. "Your resistance is impressive, humans, but futile. You cannot hope to master what took us centuries to understand." "Perhaps not," Vostok replied calmly. "But we're not trying to master it, we're partnering with it. That's the difference between us." The Void-Torn commander's expression shifted subtly. Was that uncertainty? Fear? "You know nothing of the progenitors' true purpose or the price of their gifts. They abandoned the galaxy eons ago, leaving their toys for lesser species to fight over." "Is that what you think?" A new voice entered the conversation as Captain Reeves joined the communication channel from the horizon. "We've accessed the second nexus. We know the truth now." Back at the crystalline structure, the full data transfer had revealed the progenitors' history and their purpose in creating the inheritance fleets. They hadn't abandoned the galaxy. They had ascended to a higher plane of existence. Before departing, they had created the technological caches as a test and a gift for emerging species. "The Void-Torn were among the first to find a nexus," Reeves continued. "You passed the initial test of intelligence but failed the subsequent trials of wisdom. You weaponized what was meant to create. You conquered when you should have cultivated." "And what will you do differently?" the Void-Torn commander snarled. "Your kind is no different from ours. Already your leaders plan to weaponize progenitor technology." "Some do," Reeves acknowledged. "But they will not succeed. The true inheritors understand the responsibility that comes with this power." As he spoke, Marcus Ockafer was presenting the prototype spacetime manipulator to the United Earth Council. This technology can shield entire planets, he explained. It can terraform dead worlds, harness the energy of stars without depleting them, and connect distant regions of space without the destructive potential of weapons. The progenitors were builders, not destroyers. Simultaneously, Dr. Yamazaki had completed translating the final message embedded in the second nexus. In orbit around Earth, the battle had reached its climax. The Void-Torn commander, recognizing that victory was no longer possible, ordered a desperate tactic, a suicide run against Earth itself, intending to cause massive destruction even in defeat. "Intercept course," Vostok ordered, the Nova Forge surging forward to position itself between Earth and the incoming threat. But it wasn't just her ship that responded. Throughout the neural network, every pilot made the same choice simultaneously. The entire Inheritance fleet moved as one, forming a layered defensive barrier around Earth. As the Void-Torn flagship accelerated toward them, its power core destabilizing for maximum destructive impact, something unprecedented occurred. The Inheritance vessels began to merge, their hulls flowing together like liquid metal, combining their energy fields into a single, powerful construct. At the center of this transformation stood the Nova Forge, channeling the collective power of the fleet. Vostok felt her consciousness expand, connecting not only with her ship but with every neural pilot in the network. For a brief, transcendent moment, they existed as a single entity, a gestalt intelligence greater than the sum of its parts. The Void-Torn flagship struck the unified defense and simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed but contained, its destructive energy dispersed harmlessly into subspace. In the stunned silence that followed, the remaining Void-Torn vessels withdrew, jumping to faster-than-light speeds and disappearing from the system. Gradually, the merged fleet separated back into individual ships, though something fundamental had changed. The neural network remained stronger, more integrated than before. Each pilot returned to their own consciousness with new understanding and new purpose. 1 month later, Captain Reeves stood in the newly established progenitor embassy on Earth, addressing representatives from every human nation and colony. "The stellar inheritance has changed us forever," he began. "Not just through technology but through perspective. We are not the only inheritors in the galaxy. The progenitors selected multiple species with different strengths and values, intending for us to eventually find each other, not in conflict but in cooperation." He gestured to a holographic display, showing the locations of additional nexus points throughout the galaxy. "Our mission now is threefold: to locate and activate the remaining nexus points before the Void-Torn can destroy them, to make contact with other inheritor species who may become our allies, and to use progenitor technology as it was intended, not for domination, but for creation." In orbit above Earth, Lieutenant Kaito Sato stood on the observation deck of the Kestrel, gazing at the home planet he had helped defend. The ship's consciousness brushed against his mind, sharing its contentment at their partnership. The neural connection had evolved beyond mere technological interface. It had become a symbiotic relationship. The ships were learning from their human pilots just as the humans learned from the ships. Together, they were becoming something new, guardians of a balance the progenitors had envisioned long ago. As the Kestrel's sensors detected the approach of Commander Vostok's vessel, Sato smiled. The journey had only just begun, and the stars awaited.